All right, before the break, I asked career moms if you can afford not to work and are in a two-parent home, do you think that it's selfish to work anyway? Let's get some answers from our guests, Amy Finley, Monica Kirsch, and Laura Somoza. Do you think it's selfish? No, Amy, no.
I don't think anyone ever asks a male that same question.
I agree with you. Laura?
No, I agree with you, but I don't think it's fair to give a blanket judgment. I think you have to look at each scenario case by case, because some people may have smaller jobs, some people may have a job that gives them some self-esteem, something that broadens their life in some way.
All right, so would it be accurate to say that one of the things we're sort of all saying here is that women should be free to choose?
Sure.
We agree with that?
It would be ideal if women were free to choose.
Okay, it'd be ideal
Yes.
if women were free to choose.
I agree with
That having it all may be unrealistic all at once, but at least some women can do it in stages if they choose so.
What if you don't even want it all?
Fine, good. I think Monica was.
Sometimes it's your depends on what your definition of all
I was going to
is.
say maybe having it all is staying at home with your kids.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
here, let me give you a piece of data. Here's a study by the Biomedical Library of the University of Minnesota. They showed that children of mothers who work 30 or more hours a week lag developmentally. That's a pretty vague notion, lagging developmentally. But I think what they're going at here is that when there's not sufficient attention from the gene pool, something happens. Monica, you wanted to say something about that.
Yeah, I look at it every day with my 14-month-old daughter. When she discovers something for the first time, she looks to see my validation for that. She
Yes.
looks for me. She wants to know that I'm proud of her. She's proud of herself. You know, if she's in a daycare all day with none of that one-on-one attention, she's going to say, "Wow, I did something." Okay, I don't know if it was that great or not. I don't know.
Well, I think that's great in
If
theory,
that's
but I think you have to remember too that there's so many people that just don't have those options.
Right.
There's so many people that have to work that that
choosing.
But what would be nice to know is if we could come up with a number of you need to spend so many hours a day focusing on that child for them to be healthy and
But
attached.
is it that a mother needs to spend so
Or-
many hours
or-
a day, or is it just that they need to have a dedicated caretaker who spends
or
that
family
sort of
member,
that
someone.
FaceTime, that smiling interaction,
And I
all
think-
of those things?
I think the first 5 years are the most important, and I feel that if a child is away from a sole caregiver, they develop attachment issues later in life. Maybe Dr. It turns into addiction.
Oh, for
or
sure. People
problems.
that have ambivalent and disturbed attachments, they're at risk for addiction. There's no doubt about that. We have a phone call before we go on here. Marguerite from Illinois, what do you want to say to the group?
Yeah, hey, I had a career as a rehabilitation aide, and I decided after our second son that I'd just stay at home with them. And I guess my thing is I gave up the career to stay at home, and I love every minute of it, but there's always messes being made or things to clean or cook or appointments to get to. So I lack social communication for being a stay-at-home mom, but at the same time, children are like sponges from birth to 5 years, so they soak up everything, and I would rather them be there with me for me to be influencing them in good decisions instead of outside influences.
All right.
So I guess
Got it. What do you guys say to that?
Well, in part, I think that, one, I don't know of a parent who is lazy in terms of deciding who their children's going to be around, including, my sister works. My mother actually held 2 jobs for a lot of my life. And I know that they all really, really agonized over the choices about who to leave their children with. It's not a casual decision ever, I don't think, for a woman we don't drop our child off on the corner and say, I'm sure you're going to be fine with this
You didn't put
person.
him in a basket and leave him somewhere?
No. There's a lot of due diligence involved in finding a great person.
Monica, you have something to say about that?
Well, I think that Amy it's very well put that it's hopefully not a decision that people take lightly. I mean,
You're a teacher, though.
Yes.
And what age group do you teach?
Second grade.
Did you see a lot of inattentiveness to that issue?
Of course. I mean, another thing that I dealt with was that they're with so many different people. Let's say if they go from mom to grandma to teacher to nanny, there's so many sets of rules. These children become confused. They don't know what they're doing is right or wrong because with one person it's right, with another person it's wrong, and they get conflicted within themselves, and they end up with low self-esteem and
Laura?
lack confidence.
I have to say, from all the women that I know that are mothers, and they say that even if they are stay-at-home moms or they do work, the one thing I'd say is that there's still never enough time. They're always going to have a sense of guilt for not doing it enough. And so you can sit here as much as you want and say, like, we have to be here from a certain time, but people are always going to feel like they make mistakes. People are always going to feel like they should have done it better in some way.
Let's get a Facebook question. I think it's kind of interesting that this whole conversation about women and career goes back to being a mom. You don't see men having the same conversation about career and dad. You just don't see it. Career moms, do you ever feel guilty putting your desires for career before your child's best interest. I think that's what we're talking about here. And I think, Laura, you said everybody would feel that guilt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Monica, no?
I would hope so.
Maybe.
I think you keep peeling the onion because, I mean, when you're talking about a child's best interest, another thing that's in the child's best interest is having a stable home, a loving marriage, a happy mom,
Yes.
you know, two parents who have a good and tight and communicative relationship. And I know a lot of women who that becomes possible because they also feel that sense of self that comes from, I trained for this, I went to school for this is my professional career, this is sort of me, you know, my journey of self-discovery.
Having
and
a well-rounded sense of self.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
a great thing for a child, too. And should we be
Absolutely.
making...
And that's
And you're a
something
role
that
model
as a
as
mother,
well.
right? We
should-
can model that to our
And should
children.
women be thinking about sacrificing? I think if we had real guidelines about how much time here, how much time there, it'd be much. We don't have that. We don't have that, though. A personal reveal, my wife stayed at home. I have triplets who are 18 who are fantastic. They would not be who they are. I would not be who I am had she not done this. Just I get choked up thinking about it. Thank you, honey, for doing that. But now they're going off to school, and you know she's trying to figure out who she is in the world and wants to move on. For her, it was about, I think, stages. Is that a good option for many women, do you think? Do it in stages?
I think so. I think there's a lot of women that have, you know, careers for a long period of time and then become mothers now. I think there's a lot of women that are having children later on in life.
And vice versa,
Yeah.
having their careers. Hang on, we've got to put the statistic here. 67% of women say having children and staying at home when they're young is an important choice for them. So being young, having kids, let's face it, I hear women my age talking about how the biological drive diminishes too. So when you're younger, there's sort of this push to reproduce and be a mom, right? Isn't there?
Sure.
That's biological.
Right.
And, go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, no, and I think that, you know, I know for me, I was always sort of counting 8 years into the future, 18 years into the future, too, to sort of imagine, well, where am I going to be sort of at the end of this process, too? You know,
Which is good, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I had my
Because you don't
first
want to
child
lose
when I was 28.
you don't want to lose yourself into the kids, and then where are you?
Well, and you were talking about stages. That's actually, I think, the thing that becomes difficult sometimes, too. You know, when you have a career, I had a professional career. I was cooking. I stopped. I stayed home. And the longer you see that gap opening up, you do have those realistic worries about,
Going
am I
back.
going to be able to
Yep.
go back?
Yep.
Am I still marketable in my same field?